Hey y'all! I was inspired by my bountifully blooming roses this week to create all of these beautiful projects from Spindle Mountain Mercantile. I am Heather. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Project number 1. This pretty miniature double apple crate probably could have been saved for my series called The Unsellables. That's the playlist where I bring things home from my booth that haven't sold and I redo them. But I was really jonesing to work on it now because I wanted something in which I could contain a big bouquet of roses from my flower beds. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, was this a good choice for such an arrangement. It's been in my booth for at least 2 Christmases and maybe even 3. I've marked it down to $7 and it still didn't sell again this last Christmas. So the time for a revamp is upon us. The bulk of the decoupage paper came off easily, but for the little bits and pieces I couldn't get removed, I decided to sand. For that, I used Hercules sanding paper my sweet husband found at Harbor Freight. Instead of being made with sand, this is made with ceramic, and we prefer it way more than sandpaper. I wasn't looking to make this patina the same over the entire piece, so I essentially used it only where the paper had stuck. And anyways, I knew most of the front of the crate would be covered up with these pretty little transfers I'm using from Iron Orchid Designs transfer book called Ephemeral Melange. This is available in our booth in upstate South Carolina and on our website at spindlemountainmercantile.com. And even if your surface doesn't want to accept transfers, you can make it be so by using a sealer or some kind of primer underneath your transfers. I recommend Debi's DIY Salvation Solution in clear or her liquid patina in crystal clear chandelier. I had very few problems getting these transfers to adhere to this crate, but even where it didn't want to initially stick, I just stuck with it and eventually everything went on beautifully. If you've watched any of my videos at all, you probably understand how much I like distressed things. For this, it's almost a must because the surface is so uneven, there are going to be wrinkles. When my projects have wrinkles, I embrace them. I like to go over them with my sandpaper and just kind of go across the parts where there are wrinkles. It makes a little bit of a chunk of the transfer pop off, and I like that. I'm not talking about great big chunks where you lose half of your transfer, just little random bits in different places. Wouldn't it be nice if in life we could learn to embrace our wrinkles that way? And I'm not talking about just the physical ones, but the emotional ones too. I finished this out by sealing it with Debi's Big Top. I gave it 2 good coats, letting the first one dry before I applied the second. It's really going to help preserve this little piece as I replace those rose bouquets every week this summer. Project number 2.
Someone at the shop gave this to us and thought we might be able to fix it up and it would sell for us. I took the back off of it. It has 2 rollers and this very fragile paper. The paper goes on these rollers and rolls up and down, and you can see what's on it. It needs some definite repair. I'm going to try to repair it as best I can and reconnect it to the dowels, and we'll see if we can get it to roll again, and then we'll probably paint it and put some other decorations on it But that's Heather's deal, and she'll do it up right. This is what it looks like when it's all rolled out.
I'm telling you right now, our first attempt failed, so I'm just going to go over it real quickly. We used some of that super heavy-duty craft paper from the hardware store and spray adhesive over it and the back of the paper. I put a little bit of black spray paint on the craft paper as well, where there were big chunks of the poster missing. We carefully pressed it down with our fingers, and then my sweet husband went over it with a rolling pin. By the way, we did all of this because the original poster was way too fragile to use alone. He carefully cut through both papers with scissors all the way around, and then he got out our RAM board tape to attach it to the rollers. I decided to leave this part in, even though this particular paper didn't work, because it's the same process we used when we did find something that worked. Frankly, I just filmed it better the first time.
We buy our RAM board tape at Lowe's. That's where we found the best price. In the description, Heather will leave a link where we found it on Amazon. Not as good of a price, but ultimately more convenient, especially if you don't have a Lowe's in your neighborhood.
If you purchase anything from Amazon by using our link to get there, they will give us a small compensation, but won't raise your price. He took a piece of the RAM board tape and cut it precisely to fit the entire roller bar. Then he attached one side of it all the way along and rolled the bar around so that the tape got to where it connected to itself. And then he let the rest of it hang down. And that's where I came in and held up the poster, and he went along and made sure that the tape was adhered all the way across the top of the poster with no wrinkles. I twisted the bar as he held the paper to make sure it went on flat and in the same position all the way across. And it didn't take but maybe an inch or 2 inches to realize that it was cracking all the way down the side in different areas. So we took it apart and we let it sit for about 2 weeks.
So we sent it in with our son Zach, and he had it photocopied onto thin paper, which should roll up just fine.
I used my sweet husband's T-square and a very sharp new razor blade for my box knife and cut just along the edge, leaving a little bit of white on the outer sides. My sweet husband is going to attach this one the same way he did the other one, but first he's using 220 grit sandpaper to go over the rods to make sure all of the tape we tried to use earlier and all of that residue is gone. He got it attached, and when we rolled it up, it was just as smooth as silk. It went on so much better because it's a lot less thick and way less old than what we tried the first time. It's going a little bit off, and you want to check that often when you do something like this, or it's going to be way askew when you get to the end. He put another piece of tape on the bottom roller, and we unwound the top just enough to go down and meet that, and he attached it the same way with no wrinkles all the way across as he did the top. And I'm telling you what, this thing is perfect, and my sweet husband was wrong. I'm not going to paint it. I don't think he realized how close this color is to Apothecary. Hello? To reattach all the pieces of wood, I used the same nails and holes. I just made sure those nails were straight. I'm thinking about using this as a sign for my booth, and if I do, here's a little mock-up of what that will look like. But here's the rest of it. It's so cute. Project number 3. Whenever I'm in a thrift store and I see anything framed from home interiors from like the 80s and 90s, I grab them before somebody else can. And I would probably pay up to $15 for these, although I don't think I've paid more than $8 or $8.99. I love this one because you only have to unscrew the back, and inside there's a cardboard picture that has a mat around it. Now I'm trying to separate it from the mat, but it just wouldn't budge and I don't want to tear any of it. So I took it into the kitchen and I used a brand new razor blade knife to cut the cardboard picture away from the mat frame. And when I got to the end of each corner, you had to go through it twice. When I got to the end, I turned it around and went the opposite direction so I wouldn't cut into the mat. I flipped it back over and I put my picture down and added some tape on the corners just to make sure I had it exactly where I wanted it. I wanted to make sure this rooster's comb was showing and that there were no other white lines around the edges. Because I cut the cardboard, the inside of the mat is now raw, so it needs to be colored somehow, painted. I decided to try a marker and it worked just fine. I didn't go that route, but I left it in so you could see that that's a possibility. I decided this needed more gold, so we are going to spray the entire mat with gold Rust-Oleum metallic spray paint. I put the rooster picture back in and made sure it fit, and then I made sure it was tight. I stretched it really good from the top to the bottom and put tape there before I added tape to the sides. You have to do this because that mat is about 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch thick, and so the rooster picture isn't touching the glass, and that kind of makes it look like it has waves in it. If you pull it really tight, it won't do that. After I cleaned the glass with my Sprayway glass cleaner, I put it back in and then put the whole entire picture with the mat back in and placed that back on top of it and screwed it all in. I took it to the shop and my friend Andrea named him Sir Cockingham, and he is very majestic, wouldn't you say? Project number 4. You didn't really think I would let a perfectly good cardboard fake painting of a bouquet go to waste, did you? Of course not. I was amazed at how well it fit in this frame I found in the dumpster at the doctor's auction. All I did was clean up this frame. I did take out whatever was in it that had been water damaged and the broken glass. And now I am just marking where I'm going to cut it with my square edge. Now remember, it's really thick, so I have to go through it twice, but it was super easy. I didn't cut it exactly right the first time, so I just kept taking it out and making sure I cut it so that it fit just right. I did not want that plaid around the edge to show or the dark line. I wanted it all to just be picture. My friend Dar over at DIYs by Dar introduced her YouTube viewers to this acrylic medium gloss gel. I bought this on Amazon and I will leave a link for it in the description. I put a big blob of it right in the middle and I started spreading it around. I quickly changed to doing just broad, straight brush strokes so I could get it covered before the stuff started to dry. It doesn't dry super quick, but it does start to create lines. So I want my lines to be swirled like it would be if it was an actual oil painting. I did wider swirls on the background and the vase, and then I did smaller swirls on the roses. I got out my point driver, which I call my picture frame stapler. These are super important to have if you're going to resell pictures that you upcycle. You will pay for it with your first picture. If I decide later to sell this, I'll finish the back with craft paper and tape, but for right now, I'm keeping it. I really do think it looks like an oil painting that was created just for this picture frame when it was made over 100 years ago. Project number 5. I'm guessing this was a candle holder. Pretty simple, but check this out. My sweet husband found this in a pile of stuff we got from the dumpster at the clockmaker's auction. And look at that. Woohoo, it fits. I have 8 of these plates, but I put 6 of them in my shop to sell as a set. They're Syracuse china. These were made in America, and they were used in diners in the second half of the last century. And I think this looks really cute together. Like this transfer. I think it will look really good on this. If I cut here and go right along and fussy cut along this little bird's, I can still have some of the stem go all the way down, and I'll just put this behind the bird. I started at the very top, which used to be the bottom of the candle holder, and I got that started and just worked over the curve. Don't be afraid of curves. They are super easy. That plastic wants to stay straight, so it really kind of detaches all by itself. For this entire process, I used my fingers not only to burnish it, but also as an applicator stick, because I could feel all the places where there were curves, and it was so much easier. When you're working with curves, I told you that plastic likes to stay straight, so sometimes it starts pulling away from your object and it will tear the transfer. If you use your fingers, when you're applying transfers, the more you use your fingers, you will get used to feeling where that plastic is pulling away from your object. Don't be afraid of curved surfaces. You can see I do them a lot, and I started pretty soon after I started doing transfers. It's really not as difficult as it looks, and it kind of makes you feel like you can give yourself a pat on the back when you're done, because you did something that looked so difficult, and you probably made it look easy too. A few videos ago, I showed you the tragedy of half of my two-part epoxy starting to get hard. Well, it did not get too hard, and I can still use it. It was pliable enough to scoop it out instead of squirting it out of the tube. So I just use it the same way as I did before. I decided to mix this right on that piece of wood. It just seemed like, you know what, it's easier. I won't make such a mess. I don't have to get out another plastic or paper plate and waste that. So this worked well. For this particular epoxy that we get at Harbor Freight, it's from JB Weld, and I'll leave a link for that in the description so you can find it on Amazon as well. It's super expensive. It's around $20 for both bottles, part 1 and part 2. But if you look at the per ounce price, it's way cheaper than any other 2-part epoxy we've ever found. And I highly recommend 2-part epoxy over any other glue if you really want something to stay stuck together for a very long time. I don't always seal transfers, but I'm doing this one because I think it will get lots of use being lifted up and down, especially if somebody puts a mechanical candle in there and has to turn it on and off. I'm just using a small paintbrush and going right over the edges so that, water and debris won't get between the transfer and the glass. I tied a little strip of frayed drop cloth around the top and put some lace inside to display it. But I think this would be super cute used as a birthday cloche for a personalized cupcake.
Project number 6.
I wish I would have thought to take a video of this little cigar box before my sweet husband zhuzhed it up. It's pretty old. It's from back when cigars only cost 3 for 50 cents. Or maybe it's only a little old and it's from when people wanted cheap cigars that weren't too great. Anywho, he just cleaned it up and went over it with some restore finish. And if you haven't seen those restore finish videos that talk about it being like magic, you really should. That stuff is amazing. I decided on just a simple design for this, and I'm using a little yellow rose stem with lots of different buds on it from By Any Other Name, which is one of Iron Orchid Designs Spring 2026 transfer releases. One of the stems was really short, and I just wanted those to hang over the edge and continue down the side. So I had to cut it off, and I'm going to make it fit. Well, when I started putting it on, it wouldn't adhere. So I learned 2 really important lessons here. Firstly, Restore Finish is really oily. So if you want to apply transfers over it, you have to clean it off. And for that, I'm using 91% rubbing alcohol on a cotton pad. The wood did catch a little bit on this cotton pad, but it's okay. It didn't stick too bad. But look at this, y'all. This had so much oil in it. It was kind of gross looking, but I mean, it still left the color. The second lesson was that this little cigar box is very soft wood and has lots of ridges in it. So even just my fingernail dented it. That's why I'm not using a transfer stick for this application. I'm using my fingernails and I'm going only in the direction that those ridges go. I'm just going to speed this up so you can watch the whole application. It's kind of soothing. It's like therapy. I'm sure you'll feel better after watching this. I used my fingertip to burnish, and then I decided to seal it. And for that, I'm once again using Big Top. And I just wanted to show you this picture because this is what it looks like on my website, spindlemountainmercantile.com. I'm going the direction of all of those ridges so that if I have any brush strokes, which you really don't get much of those with Debi's DIY top coat, Big Top, but I just wanted to be extra careful because those ridges are a lot deeper than they look. I got it everywhere, and then I just went back and forth and made sure the lines were straight. And then I went around the edge with that same cotton pad, and oop, there, little piece got caught. I cleaned it up and let it dry, and this piece is just beautiful. It really does look like it came this way, just not with cigars. I want to thank everybody for watching this video. To you new people, welcome. And to you not so new people, welcome back. I hope the newcomers will consider subscribing to my channel. I do have the best viewers in all of YouTube. If you don't believe me, go read my comments. These people are prayerful and fun and gracious and kind. And even when they have things to say, hey, maybe do it this way, they're really nice about it. I hope you will join us. And if you liked the video, everybody, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And please consider sharing this on your social media. I'm telling you what, I got to get some more views, or I'm going to have to start doing something that gets more views, like, I don't know, commentary on police chases. I don't want to do that. But man, those people get lots of views. Anywho, next week, Mama and I will have a new video for you, and we hope you will come back and watch that. Until then, we hope you have a wonderful week. And as always, we hope you are blessed. Bye.